I just, I don't know. I just,
You just went with the flow.
I just went with the flow, you know.
It was a real interesting childhood. I was the youngest boy in the family, and having two older brothers, and the sister's the youngest in the family. She was born at the end of World War II.
Oh, wow. Nice.
One brother's dead.
Huh?
One brother died.
Yes, my brother Don, passed away here within the last year.
Well, I don't know. Wendell, I think Wendell, my brother, was named after Wendell Willkie. He was, I don't know, what was he, a president or something?
Yeah.
I was just named. Well, it was just a typical childhood. I don't know how to explain it. We were had a lot of freedoms back then to do things like you can't do now. You can't even leave your kids out hardly. So we would go all over the areas and have the friends over and play games. I know, just sort of typical of that age. We used to play a lot of games, different games, hide and seek, and football, and I don't know, all kinds of those games you used to play. You don't play them much anymore.
The funny thing is, we both lived on the edge of town, and we could either take the bus or we could ride our bicycles or walk to school, you know. And how much of the time, I don't think I ever took the bus.
During the war, my parents moved to Cleveland. My dad just took a job there as an
Electrician.
electrician,
We were both, with our starting in the school years, we lived in Wellington, Ohio. A little town, 2,000-3,000 people in a rural area. And there was some industry in it, there were some factories in it, that kind of thing. But basically, by today's standards, it was just a little small town. And most everybody knew something about or knew each other. You know, the way it was. Is that probably I was a little bit spoiled. But I remember growing up as a child in a neighborhood which was quite interesting because the neighborhood had some English families that had migrated to this country. And as a young boy, I was always at one of the neighbors or something like that. And in fact, sometimes it would become where my folks would think they didn't see me until except at mealtime.
Yeah.
But these English neighbors were older, and they just really doted on me. It was interesting to have somebody that was really interested in you, and they would do special things for me. They had one of the neighbors had an older son, and he was in World War II, and his airplane that he was a bomber, going into Europe, and he was shot down. And I became sort of the replacement for their son.
Oh, yeah.
And it was an interesting family situation. These neighbors added a lot to my life. They were older, but they were all varied. And I just really, that's probably one of the most interesting parts of growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in.
We had friends.
Yeah.
We had friends that you run around with, do things with.
Right.
And other than that,
Yeah, when you live in a small town like that, well, you get close friends.
yeah.
Maybe not a lot of them because there's not a lot of people there. But it's you develop close friendships and you do things with them. The technology thing is so different, and it changes so fast. You're busy learning all the time. And when you get to our age, learning is not as easy as it used to be, particularly when it comes to the digital age that we're in here. I don't know how many times I have to ask for help, how to do this on the computer, how to do that kind of thing. And that's a big change from where we grew up, where most of your communication was direct or on maybe a telephone.
Yeah.
The telephone was a big thing.
Yeah.
Landline.
Yeah.
we both lived a ways away from school, but we were within walking distance of going to school. And even as, starting out the first grade right on up through, we walked to school. We didn't have our parents take us or anything like that. Occasionally if the weather was bad. But it was a different world because my parents trusted people around
You trusted people
in
more.
the town.
I used to live in Cleveland. I was a little kid. I would take the streetcar to school. I would even walk home, and this was a busy street. I mean, it was a main street. Nobody worried about anything, that's happening. It's just a simpler life.
Yeah. It's just really different in that respect, I think.
I couldn't think of anybody that really inspired me.
Probably my oldest brother. He was the first one in the family to ever go to college. He was in the military, and that was a big deal. This was at the end of World War II and after that. And so as a result, he was stationed different places, and he would come back and share that with me. But he was a real inspiration in the fact that he got his education. He was an electronic engineer, and he was my big brother, and just to achieve like he did was, I think, the inspiration that he left me. My two brothers I had were born before the Depression,
Oh, wow, okay.
and I was born after the
After
Depression.
the
And so there was 7 to 9 years between our ages. So they were enough older that they sort of, if they played their cards right, I admired them.
Yeah.
I think they would describe me as he has ants in his pants.
Busybody.
I was always doing something. One of these kids that always, I was, like I say, I was down to the neighbors. I had friends. At one stage in my life, my dad was a fisherman, and he got me started fishing. And almost every day, my buddy friend of mine and myself would go fishing. This is when we were in grade school, before we got old enough to work, get a teenage job, that kind of thing. But it was just, I was always doing something. If I wasn't busy, we had a big family garden, and it was my job to keep the weeds down.
Oh, really?
And we had a chicken farm. We raised them for eggs. We had 2,000-3,000 chickens,
Oh my gosh.
and it was my jobs to help take care of them and do the thing, gathering eggs and cleaning chicken coops. So they sort of fostered the idea of being busy.
Yeah.
I worked in a grocery store.
Yeah.
As a clerk in a grocery store.
Oh, nice. What age were you?
I don't think I started working until I was out of high school, did I?
Yeah, that's probably, you were 18, probably
About
17 or
about
18.
18, 17. After I graduated, I got the job
Nice.
at the grocery store. Other than that, I didn't really work. I don't think I ever done other jobs except babysitting. Nephews and nieces and nephews.
Used to babysit.
They used to babysit quite a bit in the community.
My first job was I worked at a service station. This was a real job away from home.
Yeah.
Worked at a service station. I also had, just until I got to where I old enough to 16 to be able to drive and do things, in the summers I would spend, I took care of people's yards. In the town we were in, had a vice president for General Motors and a vice president for Pittsburgh Williams company, and I took care of their places for them. They were nice, big lot of lawn, and just they gave me the job of looking after it, that kind of thing.
I was always fixing up, I mean, I always had to put my makeup on in the morning. And besides, I was quiet. I was not a really outgoing type of person.
Tell me what your brother said.
My brother, okay, this is sort of typical of me. My brother said that I would put on lipstick to go out and feed the chickens. We had some chickens. I always put lipstick on stuff to go out and feed the chickens.
That is a crazy thing, because to me it's crazy, because I was so attracted to Lorna. and she was was not an outgoing person. She was an introvert, and that's part of her personality. But we sort of hit it off, and I just it became just a really important thing to go to marry Lorna. The attraction was there, and boy, it's still there today.
That's great to hear.
We were in the study hall. We had study halls back then.
Yeah.
Well, I think we told the story the other day. Anyhow, my friend got moved, was next to me, and he got moved because he was talking to somebody. He got moved next to me in my friend's place, and that's how we knew each other before, I think that, but we just started more, I guess.
Yeah.
It wasn't very memorable, but I think we went to a movie.
We must have gone to a movie. What else do you do back then? Go to a
Yeah.
movie or go out for pizza?
I'm pretty sure we went to a
We
movie.
probably went to a movie. I don't
Yeah.
remember it at all. Actually, the first time I really remember doing anything with you is you asked me to go to the prom.
Oh, that's right.
You were a senior, I was a junior,
Yeah.
and we went to the prom. And that's the first time I really remember doing anything with him. Because I graduated a year later, so probably 5 months or so after I graduated.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Quite a few of our friends and acquaintances that were our age got married after high school. Just wasn't, a year or so.
Plus they went to college.
Yeah.
It was married in September of one year. Had first child of the next year in November. About 11 months. Joanna was born in November. Cheryl was November 7th. Cheryl was born December 1st the following year.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
So
And,
Lisa was born when we first started, so I thought I remember how long we've been in business.
wow.
But she was born that year, and we started the garden center that year, I think.
So she was literally born into it.
She was born into it, yes. The kids, because my kids didn't have, technology. They didn't have computers. They didn't have phones. And now I know that would bother me being on the phone all the time and stuff like that. So,
But before we were ever married, we used to talk about moving out west. And we didn't know anything about the West, but we thought that'd be really
you
nice
wanted to get out of Wellington.
Well,
Yeah.
out of town.
and Lord had an aunt and an uncle down in Phoenix.
They moved. Well, we were back. They moved out here. That's why that's one of the reasons.
Well, I moved out there to take a job that was available to me. And there was a home builder in the valley at that time called John F. Long. He was a big home builder. And the neighbor to Lorna's aunt's place there was a supervisor. And he said, give me a job if you come out, because they needed help. And that's all we did, and that brought us out here. We sold our furniture. We sold the furniture we had, and that was enough money to get us so we could move to Arizona.
Oh wow.
I know, that's
You
true.
don't need a moving truck.
Yeah, yeah.
So we sold everything. We kept my washer. Remember how you packed that washer in the car? We packed it. Him and my dad came out first. And we packed that car with a washer. I had to have my washer because they had a baby.
I get that.
And then,
So I could wash diapers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I couldn't buy it out here, but I had to take my washer with me. So, but it was very difficult when we first came out here because we were very poor people.
Yeah.
Really were, Lorna's, it's just, we just made it from payday to payday kind of thing, do that kind of thing. And
It was tough.
it was some help, the different people helped us along the way, did things for us, provided a little extra breathing room. And, but, we were very fortunate. Lorna's father was in real estate, and he ran across a house that was very moderately priced. But it was a new home, but the people wanted to get rid of it, sell it in a hurry. And so Howard helped us to buy that. and that's
Was it about $11,000?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was that a 3-bedroom home?
It was a 3-bedroom. It was small, but it was a
Small,
3-bedroom.
yeah.
Yeah. Was it on a good chunk of land?
Yeah.
Well, like
too, or-
average lot back in those
Yeah.
days. You know, you had a
Yeah.
nice backyard.
Typical city lot, yeah.
Not like they make them now. It was
Yeah.
so small.
Stacked up.
But it was, the job that I had, we came in August.
It was so
I
hot.
came in August and to Phoenix. And just, from Ohio,
Yeah.
that's a major change. And
Yeah.
it got to where I could not take the heat. I just couldn't do it. I was going to pass out on the job or have heat stroke or something. And so I gave up that job with the construction company and took a job with the nursery that was there in Phoenix.
$1.10 an hour.
Huh?
$1.10 an hour.
Yeah. $1.10 an hour. Lord remembers
I
that.
remember
Yeah.
And so I worked there for a while, and we were just barely getting. I worked at a second job, working at a service station at night, and doing that kind of thing to get enough to get by. And then had a chance to go to work for a fence company there. There was a lot of building at that time, and the homes didn't come with fence. You had to buy the fence. And so I went to work for them and became a salesman for them. And we never earned so much money in our lives up to land as
That
we.
time.
That's a nice change.
Yeah, I actually bought some furniture. We were living, we had an old sofa. There was a hiding bed someone gave us. That was what we were sleeping on. And
Oh wow.
we finally bought the furniture.
It just one of those things. Here's an opportunity. Let's try and do it. And
Yeah.
it worked out. We just barely made
Barely
it
made it.
through the change. And then we moved to Prescott then after 3 years in Phoenix.
And of course, I love Prescott, so that's one of my favorite places to live.
Absolutely.
Houses. I mean, we lived in so many houses. It would be hard to just say which. I know which house I like the best, but you wouldn't know it. But
Oh, that's okay. If you just kind of mention where it's at, I'm sure
it's on Twin Oaks.
Twin Oaks.
Twin Oaks. I like that house the best. We had a big
Here in
yard
Prescott. Yeah.
here in Prescott, and we fixed the house up. It was really nice. We fixed it up really nice, but it was quite a ways out of town, and we decided we wanted to sell it.
We had horse and
We had horses in the Skull Valley.
Yeah.
We had horses on
Yeah.
Angus Drive. But, it's a lot of places I really liked. But probably the favorite place would probably be Twin Oaks.
the house, everything we wanted to get done on it. We were living in it, but it was just a little bigger house and more land than we wanted. But when we lived in Skull Valley, that was a good experience
That was nice, too.
We enjoyed that, and
We had the family around us.
yeah, and having family around us. Ken and Lisa's family was there with us. Lorna's mother was down there with us. They lived on the same 10-acre parcel or acreage that we lived on. It was a little farm is what it was, and you could call it a ranch down there. But,
Texas.
but it was a special place to me, and it was going there was sort of a fulfillment of a dream, to do something like that. Lord, most people don't know this, but Lorna, we had our first garden center by then, and we had enough room in there that we did use. We started a pet shop in there to help winners, because in the winter the nursery would be very busy, and so we thought this will work. It did pretty good, and then Lorna got the idea of doing dog grooming because she had already, with the breed dog we had, she groomed that dog and did a good job. So she added that to what she did at the garden center, but in the pet shop. It sort of looked after the pet shop part. And that's what Lorna was busy doing by the time you were 33.
Yeah. I can't remember how old I was when I was doing that, but someone must have been pretty close to being there somewhere.
Yeah.
We had the dogs and the horses, and I love dogs and horses, any animal.
Yeah.
So I was always out with
You didn't
them.
need humans.
Right, I need humans.
Yeah.
That what you mentioned is an important thing. Animals were a major part
of my life.
of Lorna's life
The
then,
lambs.
and they are today too.
I had a pet lamb that followed me everywhere.
We got rid of the pet shop and opened the flower shop.
I was the
hired,
cashier, salesperson and cashier.
But the girls worked in there. Lisa particularly
Lisa worked in there a
worked
lot.
as a florist.
Mhm.
I didn't dare depend on my parents to pay for my college. It was very clear from the beginning. My dad felt if you want to go to college, then you need to earn the money to pay for it. Work in the summers and work part-time jobs even in college, or if you needed to. But my dad only went as far as the 8th grade, and that there again, that was not an uncommon thing at that period in our history as not just a family but as a country.
Yeah.
There are a lot of fellows, and a lot of women that only went as far as the 8th grade. That's all you were required to do.
Yeah.
Going on to high school was optional, but it's one of those things where education was important, but it wasn't more important than certain other things like helping take care of the family and do things like that. And so education was not a critical thing in his mind, but he felt it was important. But if you felt it was important enough to go to college, then you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Now, what happened was there were times when the parents helped all of us boys when we didn't have money to pay for room and board or whatever it was. They helped us with that kind of thing. So the parents encouraged us in that way, but basically is if you wanted education, you're going to earn it.
I should have told myself to go to college, which I didn't do.
Yeah.
I should have gone to college.
Yeah.
But so I should have told myself to do that.
Yeah.
But at that point, I think I was more interested in getting married.
Oh, good option. The thing I didn't take seriously until I was well into high school was, being a better student in school. I was happy if I got B's or C's, and that's the way they graded those days. And it wasn't until I got up into junior high and high school I decided, get those grades up. And I did by then I thought I was sure I wanted to go to college, and so I would have worked a little harder at that sort of thing, and not worried so much about having a car to drive and get my driver's license and those kind of things. Well, I was fortunate. I had a scholarship to go to college.
What?
Company,
What kind of
and,
scholarship? That's
it
cool.
was a work scholarship. I worked for, it was a bigger company, an industrial company in Cleveland. And so I moved up to Cleveland after I graduated and lived up there and worked for them in their industrial plant. They had a regular program there for young fellows or few girls. And this kind of thing. And then they paid, you went to night school, but they paid for everything. And if you got through that in 2 years, then, and you wanted to, you could go on into a 4-year program in college. And so I was fortunate. I had to drop out at the end of my first year because of my health problems, but it was a nice plus. There's no question about that. And it was, I consider myself very fortunate because I could have a car and all those kind of things, and I could afford to. I didn't live on campus for the most part. I lived in apartments, a bunch of guys had there.
Living in a room. Nice. Your mom, at what grade do you think that she stopped going to school?
She finished. She was a high school graduation, and her father was on the school board at the small school it was in. It was a rural school, covered an area. And it was interesting with my mother. She was active in the community. She was active. She was PTA president and things like that. So education was important to her.
Your mom. How far do you think she got in her education, or did she ever express that to you? Like,
Oh yeah, she went. She went to college 1 year. She was a musician,
Huh?
great pianist, and she got somebody in the town we lived in paid for her to go to college 1 year at Oberlin, which is a little town next to it. And so she did that, but then they couldn't pay for the next year, so she had to drop out.
Yeah. The Depression killed
Depression, yeah.
or because of business people there. They were helping pay for her college.
man, she must have been good to.
She was good,
Yeah.
very good.
Outstanding. The school she went to was the Oberlin Conservatory of Music, which was the top of the level at that time for music education. And that's where she went to school. But it was, when I got to know the family and Dayton, Lorna, I was so impressed with Lorna's mother as a musician. She
was a great musician.
I just never met
Didn't
anybody
pass it
like her.
on,
And she was
we
a
didn't really take.
He didn't take.
Yeah. pleasant person and very sharp on music. She was a church organist for years, played the organ for different churches in the area, played the piano for different groups, and just
She was a great pianist.
Yeah.
She was.
yes, gave piano lessons too.
She gave
didn't she?
piano lessons.
Yeah.
I just missed the simple life that we had. It was just simple. You know, we had big family gatherings, and I don't know what to say. It was just a simpler life, slower life than it is now. So I don't know. That's sort of the way I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we were both very fortunate. We had good parents, and they were good role models for us.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but they were good role models, and that's where we earned our values. That was we just were very fortunate that way. My family regularly attended Sunday school, and I went to Sunday school from the time I probably, old enough to remember it.
Oh, we-
Little community church there in Wellington, and it was just part of our life. But I didn't really understand. It wasn't until later, when I was dating Lorna, that I learned. They took me to a church there in
My mother
Wellington.
influenced you.
Huh?
My mother influenced you.
And Lorna's mother influenced me. And I did not know who Jesus really was. I knew Jesus, I knew about him and all these things, but I didn't realize that he died on the cross for me. He died for forgiveness of my sins. He paid the price for them. And I went to church all those years and didn't know that. It was just more of a social thing, is what that was. All my buddies and different families we knew and so forth went to church, and it was just a thing. But that's as a result of Lorna's mother's influence in my life and her getting me where I was exposed. There was an organization, a Christian organization that helped spread the
Youth
good
for
news
Christ.
about Jesus. It was called Youth for Christ. The Truth for Youth later on was the name of it. But it was a nationwide organization. It was very popular, and they would bring special speakers in, and once a month they would do a special thing, and they would share the information about who Jesus is and what he can do for you. And knowing Jesus as your Savior gives you the assurance of knowing that you're going to go to heaven. But I wasn't thinking too much about heaven at that time, but I was sure it really interested me, and I was drawn to him. And it was, for both of us, it was a major change in our lives, and probably it absolutely is the most important thing that ever happened to us. That has been so key in our lives, and to mature and grow in Christ, in knowledge about him and knowledge of the Bible, and being able to even share about Jesus, with other people. But for our family, it's important to us that we would hope that our family, each one, from children to grandchildren, would turn their lives to Jesus and accept and know Him as their Savior. He's paid the price, and it's up to us to as many as received Him, to them gave He the power to become the children of God. So this is it.
He's always with you, no matter what you're going through.
Yeah.
Difficulties.
Yeah.
He's there.
We've gone through deep particularly with health problems. We've gone through some fairly deep water, and we're still going through it. It gets more intense as you get older.
Yeah.
And we're in our 80s now, so we know that life on this earth is probably not a real long time, but he's still very precious to us, still very important. God's Spirit has really laid that in our hearts, to remain faithful to Him.